I am so ridiculously excited to play the Disney Lorcana Trading Card game. I love trading card games. I mostly play and talk about Magic the Gathering, but I actually picked up 4 other trading card games at conventions I went to this year, and I played Pokemon years before I was ever introduced to Magic. But from the moment I first heard about Disney Lorcana until now, when I'm ridiculously jealous of all the people at Gen Con who were already able to play it, I've been super excited to try Lorcana. I actually worked as a character actress and party princess for years, so I spent countless hours dressed up as characters and singing the songs.
I want adventure in the great wide somewhere. I want it more than I can tell.
The Disney Lorcana Trading Card game features characters from all of Disney animation, and I literally feel like 2 of my favorite things were smooshed together in a really cool way for this game. I was curious how similar the mechanics would feel to Magic the Gathering, and so before local game stores and Disney parks release the game next week, I thought I would do a Disney Lorcana overview. Something that took me far too long to notice was that the name Lorcana is a portmanteau of the words lore and arcana, although this definitely makes sense once you look at the mechanics of the game, which really leans into Disney lore and magic. You play as an Illumineer and summon glimmers of the Disney characters using magical ink. I'm really impressed that they had a whole narrative design team that really worked to give the game an overlying story so that it makes sense and it's not just a game where you throw together a bunch of Disney characters from so many iconic worlds haphazardly. The goal when playing Lorcana is to be the first to gain 20 or more lore. The way that you typically gain lore is by sending your characters questing. Characters can quest by being exerted or tapped, although ink needs a chance to dry, so characters cannot go questing the turn they come onto the field. So even our Disney heroes have summoning sickness. I love the flavor of having the glimmers of characters you summon going on quests, and it makes the language of exerting the card when you tap it feel thematic as well. There are reasons other than questing that might cause a character to be exerted, such as singing, or something specific listed on their card. Elsa, for example, can be exerted to tap an opponent's character. And when a character is exerted, they become vulnerable to being challenged or attacked. That's where a card's strength and willpower come into play. Similarly to the Pokemon card game, damage is persistent and something you need to track for your characters because if they run out of willpower, they become banished. Or discarded. Each card has a casting cost that's found on the top left of the card. Surrounding the casting cost, there might be an inkwell. If so, that card is a card that can be used to fill your inkwell once per turn, which is the resource that you use to play your cards. Each card also has an ink color. Ink is akin to the mana colors in Magic the Gathering. The 6 ink colors are Amber, Amethyst, Emerald, Ruby, Sapphire, and Steel. Each of the ink colors has a different theme. Amber glimmers are focused on community. An example would be someone like Moana. Amethyst ink can summon glimmers of magical characters like Elsa. Emerald ink summons adaptable characters that often change, such as Aladdin. Ruby glimmers are brave and daring, such as Mickey Mouse. Sapphire glimmers are intellectuals and creative, like Belle. And Steel ink summons characters known for their strength, like Hercules. One thing I really love about Magic is that not only do the individual colors have really strong color identities, color combinations have really strong identities. This is different than Pokemon, where it's really just the individual colors that have an identity and your deck just happens to include more than one of those separate colors. I'm interested to play with the cards in Disney Lorcana more and get a better sense of the combination of colors here. Let's look at the phases of your turn. I feel like the phases of a turn in Lorcana feel really similar to Magic, and therefore it feels really natural to me. You have 2 different phases of the turn, the beginning phase and the main phase, and subphases within those phases. You start the beginning phase by readying your cards or untapping, resolving any effects in play that begin at the start of turn, upkeep, and then draw a card from your deck. During the main phase, you can place a card into your inkwell, which means that you place a card that has an inkwell icon around its ink cost in the top left corner with the backside up into your inkwell. That card then counts as 1 ink drop, and you can tap and use that card as a resource to play your other cards. This is similar to playing a land for turn in Magic. Then you can do any number of actions, which include playing a card, using an item, sending a character on a quest, or challenge an opponent's exerted character, in any order until you can either do no more actions or choose not to take any more actions. Just like with Magic, the first person to play does not draw a card on their first turn, and turns go back and forth between the players. Interestingly, it doesn't look like there's any instant speed interaction at this time. Instant speed interaction is something that's pretty unique to Magic the Gathering, but it's something that I personally really love about Magic. But since this is just the first chapter of Disney Lorcana, who knows what they'll add in the future. I know personally my favorite format of Magic is Commander, which is a multiplayer format. So far, it looks like Disney Lorcana is meant and designed to be played by 2 people, although there have already been some discussions online about how multiplayer games have gone. I'm not totally sure, and so I'm interested in getting my hands on the cards and seeing how it feels to play both with 2 players and maybe more than 2 players. There are going to be 4 sets released a year, and this first chapter is released this month. There are 3 starter decks as well as booster packs, a gift pack, and the Lumineers Trove included in this chapter. Each of the 3 starter decks has a 60-card deck with 2 ink colors. There's an Amber and Amethyst deck, an Emerald and Ruby deck, and a Steel and Sapphire starter deck. Each of the cards in these starter decks have already been released, and it's really fun to see the Disney characters in the art. Thank you so much for watching! Are you planning on trying the Disney Lorcana Trading Card game? I plan on picking up the 3 starter decks on August 18th from my local game store. I'll let you all know what I think as soon as I have them and I have a chance to play them a little bit. If you want to hear more about my time working as a party princess, here's an extremely old video where I chat about it. Seriously, I made this video before I opened my own company or was a full-time content creator and before I had even started playing Magic the Gathering. So here you go!